So here's some thoughts on God. God is a comforting thought. The God enigma. God is the punctuation and reply to every answer and question that we don't know. For instance, how did we get here? God. What happens when we die? God. Why did a hurricane and tornado come and rip through my trailer park and kill my dogs? God. Why does little Timmy get fucking bone cancer? God. Who's gonna save us from this craziness and this, famine? God. Who created this craziness and famine? God. See, God, right? And not all gods are all loving and forgiving. It depends on which God you believe in and which version of that God. You can believe in the same God, but different eras will have different versions of that God, and different Bibles will have versions of the same God. Anyway, hopefully you get the forgiving God and not the merciless God, or merciless God. Either way, God is a comforting belief, and I hope it's true. I hope, again, it depends on which God, but I hope there is a God that created us, and that loves us, and will forgive us for our sins that for some reason he bestowed upon us that we're not supposed to do. Yet he controls everything, but just doesn't want to do that. Whatever. I hope there is a loving God, and I hope that when we die, we go to some everlasting paradise, some bliss. I hope that we're united with our God and are at peace for the rest of eternity, and are just like a permanent grin on our faces till the end of the end, right? With God. All of our suffering is gone, all of our pain, all of our misery, all the terrible things that we've done or have had done to us are all forgiven and swept under the rug. And all of our complexity and emotional baggage is replaced with a euphoric, heavenly feeling of bliss and oneness with our Creator. I hope that's true, but I just see no indication that it is. There's too many discrepancies. There's too many holes in the stories. And honestly, if God did create all this, I can't say that I necessarily, agree with his creations. And I don't necessarily, certainly God doesn't have to answer to me, right? Who am I? I'm one of his creations, right? He doesn't need to explain himself. He's fucking God, right? I get it. But that doesn't necessarily mean I have to like you. And I don't have necessarily dislike a belief or people that believe in a God. What I dislike, though, is what that faith and that belief, the outcome of that faith and belief on society and how it impacts the world around us. If people want to worship and believe in their God, and not bother anybody, great. No problem with that whatsoever, right? I don't care, as long as it doesn't affect me. But when these people start getting positions of power, start educating children, start getting into politics, start buying up land, all of a sudden they become a group, a religion, an organization, a church, and then I'm not real comfortable with people making the laws based around their God's morality or lack thereof, or educating my children and selling us nonsense, a book of fairy tales, to explain how we got here, how we evolved, whatever. I'm not down with that. Now, if we can all worship and believe in gods without impacting those around us in a negative way, great. And again, I do hope that God is real. I just don't think he is. Because if he is, I don't think he cares about us. I think we don't have the ability to understand what God is. I do believe that there's something greater than man. I don't think we are the supreme beings in the entire universe by any means. In fact, I think we're pretty low on the fucking totem pole. I kind of do believe in the ancient alien theories. I do believe that we possibly have been seeded here by beings more evolved than us and helped jumpstart the evolution of this planet. That'd be sound kind of far-fetched to a lot of you, but not any more far-fetched than your belief in God. I guarantee you that. May not be as prevalent yet, but it's coming. Maybe not in my lifetime. But yeah, You know, I mean, God is a comforting thought to those who have nothing. To know the grim, dim, cold reality that your life is full of suckiness and pain and misery, and you get shit on and spit on by everybody, you know, and you gotta, you know, work 90 hours a week, you know, for a handful of rice, you know, which millions of people do. Millions, hundreds of millions. The belief that there is a everlasting paradise for those who believe, where you have all the rice you want till the end of time with your God. That is a comforting thought to those who would probably shoot themselves in the face with a gun full of fucking rice if they could, if it wasn't for that belief holding them together. So therefore, I mean, the belief in God isn't all bad. Faith is a powerful thing, which also brings us to another question. If enough people believe in something, even if it's not real, does it become real? Can billions of people have the same thoughts and the same focus and the same projected energy into an idea? Does that idea become real? Does it take on a form? And is it then manifest into our reality? Well, that's kind of superstitious. That's kind of getting almost borderline magical talk here, Zach. But possibly. So maybe God is real in a sense. But either way, I mean, I believe that, you know, it's possible. It's possible. It's just as possible, you know, that the old ones will come ripping through our universe and devour us one day. The Cthulhu will rise. You know, Nyarlathotep. You know, I mean, gods, the old gods. And who are gods? Gods, there's been thousands of gods. Usually, people believe in a god. They get conquered by their neighbors or whatever. Their god is now a devil. Becomes hated, is a source of evil, and is replaced with another god to hang in front of everybody for the generations of generations, until that gets conquered and tore out and replaced. So, apparently God does respect might. God does respect force, and has been known to use it himself, right? God is a great tool to manipulate the ignorant. God is a great question to appease our curiosities. God is a great answer to all of our tragedies. God is the great riddle. God is the great enigma. God will fill in the blanks. Now go back to work and make somebody money. The church. God. That's what's for dinner. I'm just going to slip this in here like I didn't actually end the video too soon. A little history of me. I was raised Catholic, but not strictly like hardcore Catholic. Didn't go to Catholic school and shit like that. I didn't even wear a cross, really, for maybe like a month. And then, like, you know, burned a hole in my chest. No, I'm joking. I think I lost it or something, but whatever. I was raised Catholic, but, you know, I wasn't really, like, it wasn't crammed on my throat, you know. As a kid, you know, I remember going to Christmas Mass, shit like that, Easter, shit. I think there's an Easter Mass or something like that. Yeah, it's Jesus' birthday, right? No, I'm joking, but whatever. That's about how much I paid attention. I don't know, I developed critical thinking skills. You know, my dad is a Catholic, you know, and he was raised Catholic, come from, you know, Irish family background on his side, and whatever, you know, I mean, he's a loving man, great guy, you know, he bestowed great moral values upon me that I still have to this day. Not necessarily of a religious nature, but just on a human moral nature, in my opinion. You know, was that necessary with the Catholicism? Does that really have anything to do with Catholicism? No, not really. I mean, he would probably say differently, but I'm smarter than him now. No, but seriously, he's a great dad, great loving father, and you know, if I ever become a father, I can only hope to be as good as he was. So, that being said, you know, I just developed critical thinking skills young. I mean, you know, I was told Santa Claus was real. Found out that wasn't true. I don't know until I was 6 or 7. Knew that was bullshit. Easter Bunny, pff, no ways. Tooth Fairy, nope. By the time I was 8 or 9, I'm like convinced that my parents do nothing but fucking lie to me, right? And then this whole Jesus thing. Oh, okay, wait a minute. We lied to you about this. Sorry. I'm Santa. Oops, sorry. There's no Easter Bunny. Oh, the tooth fairy, that's really me too. Sorry. Oh, but Jesus, this guy, I really am not lying about. But you can never see him. And you can never talk to him. Unless you're fucking crazy. Right? Or Mexican. No, joking. Am I? I don't know. But, really? Can you communicate with Jesus? No, but Jesus is real. Sorry we lied to you about everything else. Not this guy. And then I thought about it, and Jesus is the most improbable of all of them, to tell you the truth. The story of Jesus Christ and all this nonsense is just about as plausible as Santa Claus. Really, if you think about it. So, by the time I was 10, I wanted to believe in God, but I just couldn't swallow it. My logic skills were just overwhelming, and it was just like, this is nonsense. And they tried to force me to go to church, and by the time I was 11 or 12, I just told my father, who picked me up on the weekends, I said, Dad, you keep making me go to church, I am not going to come hang out here on the weekends anymore. And I put it into that. That was the last I went to church. I mean, who the fuck wants to get up early on a Sunday morning as a kid and go to fucking church? The only thing I liked about church is after church when, we got to go out and eat breakfast at my favorite place, which was some place called, I fucking forget, Green Tomato or something. I don't remember what it was, but either way, that was the only thing to look forward to, but it wasn't worth sitting through an hour and a half of fucking nonsense and getting touched by old creepy men who put their hands on me. No, but, held my hand was close enough. I didn't like that. I don't like holding people's hands, especially old creepy men. But either way, yeah, fuck church. The dogma, the whole trappings. Now, the one thing I did like about church is I did like the art, like the stained glass windows. I liked the chanting and shit. That was kind of cool. I like the dogma and the ritual behind it was kind of interesting. Kind of creepy too when you're really young, but it is, which is the point. It's supposed to be overwhelming. It's supposed to be memorable, and it's supposed to be all awing and inspiring. So, but and it was cool, but wasn't cool enough. I was out of there by the time I was 11 or 12. I'm like, fuck this. And then I went to search for my own God, because I still wanted to believe in God. I just didn't want to believe in that God. But who's to tell what kind of gods are we to believe in, right? There are so many. So I as best as I could at the age of 10, 11, 12, I studied, I tried to study the big religions, but before I even got 100 pages into, just not even the Bibles, but the cliff notes of the Bibles, right? Just like the shit that you could check out, like, what is Buddhism, when you're, in elementary school, which there really wasn't. But yeah, I had to, not in my day, not in the early 80s. But, it was like, what? So I just cast aside as all bullshit, because just Buddha, although Buddhism, as I got older, I can learn to appreciate a little bit more. And at the end, I can't say that. That's a secret that only certain ones of us will know, or do you know? But it has to do with Buddhism and Satanism. But anyway, what was I ranting on about? Oh yeah. So I just started to get interested more in supernatural shit, right? Not necessarily really, a little bit of aliens. Aliens still kind of scare me, the concept of aliens, because I was almost too realistic. That was kind of scary. But I got more fascinated with monsters, and then I got ESP, and I just started getting paranormal shit. And by the time I was 13-ish, right around there, now we're talking the late 80s, right? And now we're talking beginning of the Satanic Panic. And what the Satanic Panic was, an overwhelming, massive media saturation of the devil, Satanists, and these radical stories of bloodbaths and human sacrifices and these acid pools that allegedly all these Satanists, all disposed of all these sacrificial virgins, and that's why there's never any bodies, right? There's never any bodies. Yet all these, it's a worldwide national pandemic of fucking human ritual sacrifices, but there's no bodies because they burn them in these acid pits, right? And but it was all over. And they had Richard Ramirez, serial killer, doing his fucking pretending to be a Satanist when he's just a fucking creepy ass pussy who beat up old women and raped old women. Yes, but he had AC/DC and Hail Satan, whatever. Fuck that guy. But yeah, and there's just a plethora of media saturation about Satanism, to the point where it was intended to scare everybody, and it did. It scared a lot of people. Right back into fucking church is what it did. Church was at an all-time high in attendance. Churches were making a lot of money, more so than usual because of this, and they were cashing in, selling books, and and if psychiatrists and psychologists got into that game, and hypnotism to bring up ritual abuse, or fucking suppress memories that your uncle was a Satanist and felt you up in the closet in the name of Satan and whatever, right? I mean, it was nonsense. It was so nonsense that people who owned preschools and shit were going to jail because of ludicrous stories about underground dungeons and child sacrifices and weird shit. I mean, it was just nonsense. But to those of us who weren't too scared and were curious and who had the balls and the insight to think, maybe there's something more to this. Do these people really exist? How could a group of Satanists be doing this? Why would they do this? What the fuck is Satanism? Is it this? This doesn't make any sense. None of it makes sense. It's madness. Like, I could smell bullshit, but I didn't quite know what the bullshit was. I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know who farted, but I could smell it. It had to do with Satanism. So then I decided, I read a bunch of books, the stupid fucking books that are on the, bestseller list of bullshit about Satanism. I'm like, this is nonsense. This is not be real. This is bullshit, right? Play records backwards, Ozzy Osbourne, whatever, and then I started getting into metal music, right? And then, at the time, you had AC/DC, you had Ozzy Osbourne, you had Judas Priest, you had Slayer, you had, Metallica, you had a lot of fucking metal bands. I know I'm missing a bunch, right? But either way, a lot of them, even Motley Crue. I mean, there's all kinds of bands where putting the sign of the horns and pentagrams and upside down crosses and shit. And I was kind of attracted to that aesthetics, because getting into puberty and stuff, being 13, trying to find an identity and stuff. I mean, that was fucking rock on, man. That was some badass shit, right? These are some bad motherfuckers, right? But then I eventually came across the Satanic Bible, which is the actual. I eventually went to the source to understand what Satanism was, and by not necessarily did I seek it out, but it eventually came to me in a sense where an older chap, who was a little bit older, quite a bit. Well, I was like, say 13, he was probably 18, and old. Yeah, it's pretty significant 5-year difference when you're that young. And he had a Satanic Bible, and he gave it to me, and I read it, and then I read everything I could after that, because then I hit the nail. I hit, wow, this is what Satanism is. This is nothing like what TV says, nothing like what the church says, nothing like what Hollywood says. This is really what Satanism is? Why do they call it Satanism? Why? Because everybody thinks Satanism, and they think evil and hurt and pain and suffering and killing, and because it's associated with the devil, Satan, and if Satan isn't really real, why do they call it Satanism then? It's confusing. It's an enigma. It's a riddle. It's a mystery. But I could answer that for you. But then again, I would be depriving you of learning a secret. And I could tell you all the secrets that I've learned in my 46 years, but I would be doing you an injustice, because you would not appreciate it. You'll appreciate it when you discover it. If you truly wish to discover it, then you'll read the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey. You can throw out the last half of the book if you want. The first half is really important. About 100 pages. You can sit down and read it in 2 or 3 days. If you so inclined, and then you'll understand what I'm saying. But yeah, Satanism back then, though, that was high impact on people. And so the Satanic Panic drew me to Satanism. Although it was intended to scare you back into church, it scared me right towards it, because while 1,000 people ran and believed that bullshit, for every 1,000 people that ran, there's one of us that turned around and said, no, I want to see what that is, and continued. And those are the people that cut through the lies and the smoke and the mirrors and found their path, the left-hand path. Satanism being part of that, usually a entry-level part to that. But anyway, so that was it. So that's how I became associated with Satanism. And then, I studied the occult and other things along with that. But yeah, that's basically it. This video is already way too long. It's supposed to be under 5 minutes. I'm rambling because I'm pretty tired. I've had a long week and I've been driving a lot. I'm in Oceanside again, doing some work up here. So I'll be going back and commuting back and forth. And yeah, but there's my add-on to this outrageously long video. More to come.